Question 1. Your education background is fascinating. Government and poli-sci in undergrad, information systems in graduate school. How did your interests develop? How did my interest develop? Well, undergraduate, to be perfectly honest, was a degree that I got into to get out of college as quickly as possible because I wanted to go work in the real world. My interests at that time were very much more on IT and technology. I worked part-time all the way through college doing technical support and stuff because technology has been an interest of mine since the second grade. And the graduate degree was from a love I developed in college of the martial arts, of this one particular Japanese martial art. And my friend's teacher, Mark Davis of the Boston Martial Arts Center, was based in Boston. So I wanted to go to Boston to study with them there, and needed something to do during the daytime. So I took an information systems degree. And those two things are fly swatters now, like the diploma cases. They're not particularly useful. My undergraduate degree with a focus on stateless transnational terrorism would have been useful if I'd gone into that field, but I didn't. How did your interest in data science lead you to MarTech and marketing? It's actually the other way around. So in the early 2000s, I was a technology person. I started working at this financial services startup, the Student Loan Network, and I was the IT director. So a lot of my work was, update the web server, update the mail server, keep the software patched, and so on and so forth. And naturally, at a startup, you wear many, many hats. I used to joke, I'm the CIO, the CTO, and the guy who cleans the restroom on Fridays. And what happened was that marketing became marketing technology in that decade. Update the web server became update the website. Update the mail server became send this week's email newsletter, and that's what brought me into marketing and marketing technology. It's that logical progression. And then when that company got essentially legislated out of existence in the 2008 election because then President Obama brought in all the federal student loans into the Department of Education, which is where they really belong. That business line just imploded. And so at that point, it was around 2005, 2006 that Google Analytics became a thing. Google bought a company called Urchin and made their otherwise very expensive software free. And as such, a whole bunch of us started figuring out, oh, there's actually better tools for measuring our website's performance. That became the focus on analytics and data from 2009 really until 2012, when I started working in-house at a public relations firm, but bringing in marketing technology there. And at that point, that's when I started making the pivot into data science, machine learning, and AI, because we had all this data. What do we do with it? How do we use it? How do we get better with it? How do we take client data and turn it into something that's usable? That's essentially how I changed from pure marketing technology into data science and machine learning. And now, of course, 5 years after that and change, I started my company, TrustInsights, to take that to the next level, because the PR industry is going in one direction, but my interests and my capabilities have gone in a very different direction. What is it about data science that you find fascinating? What passion drives you to explore it? Data science is the intersection of three different fields. It is very much about understanding business and business goals, so strategic consulting and strategy. It is about, on the process side, it is the academic discipline of data. I call it data detective work, trying to understand and solve mysteries with science, hence the name data science. And then on the technology side, using statistics and data science and machine learning and AI tools. It's those combination of three different disciplines that makes data science so interesting, because as long as you're minimally competent in each of the three, you can deliver outsized results that you would not be able to get from any one of those disciplines by themselves. So as long as you're good at what you do, you can really find fascinating answers to questions, answers that you wouldn't be able to get any other way. And those answers turn into insights, which turn into action plans. I was just doing some work for one of our marketing clients, looking at their brand terms and then trying to understand what terms are most closely related to that using a technique called vectorization. If you imagine a page of words like a map where everything has coordinates on it, what are the words that live closest to the words that you care about? There's a way to do that mathematically that tells you, yep, these are the words that live closest to your brand. It's very computationally intensive, but it also tells you insights that you could not get any other way. If you tried to read 100,000 pages on your brand, you go crazy. So being able to find those answers, and in terms of the passion, it really is that detective work, solving mysteries, getting answers. And the wonderful thing about the field is that, like artificial intelligence, it's constantly growing, constantly changing. It is even faster paced than marketing. You think marketing is fast. This is even faster. There are new techniques, new ideas, new models every single day. And some days there are industry-changing models and things. In was it about a month ago? No, less than a month ago. The folks at OpenAI released the 778 million parameter model for their GPT-2 software, which is natural language processing. This is a massive library. And with it, you can generate incredibly good text, net new text based on stuff that you train it on, to write questions like this. I was testing this for a session I'm doing at Content Marketing World. I loaded all these different tweet chats into this model to fine tune it, and it generated tweet chat questions for new tweet chats. Now I don't have to write my own tweet chats. I can train this thing and have it build 100,000 questions. That's more than enough than I'll ever need for any given tweet chat. So that's the passion part, the fun part, solving mysteries and doing things that you didn't know that were possible until you learn them and you deploy them. What future application for tech and marketing makes you most excited? Something we're not fully exploiting it, but has great potential. Future applications really are on, from a data science and AI perspective, we have pivoted as an industry to a different way of doing things. The old way used to be create the model, train the model, tune the model, deploy the model, right? And that it was very commonplace, and it's still probably the best choice for certain situations. But now what is happening with things like MelNet, and XLNet, and GPT-2, and all these major transformer-based networks, it has become more get the model, get the pre-trained model, which has been done by a big technology company with massive budget and massive resources, fine-tune it, and then deploy it so you get to answers faster. And I believe that for marketing itself, that's really where you're going to see massive change. When you look at the results that like MelNet got on speech generation, being able to read in a natural voice, it is unbelievable. It's almost human. Like there are still a few artifacts you're like, okay, it's not quite right. But it's much more believable than like the monotone that we've been used to. And so having machines read audiobooks, for example, in the next 6 to 12 months will be a pleasant experience. We'll listen to this and go, wow, that was really good. Better than the author would have done. There's another startup that does, I think it's called Lyric AI, where you read your own voice in, and it trains the machine how to speak in your voice. So being able to do that kind of thing is really interesting. But generation, language generation, speech generation, video generation, image generation, all these technologies, they're not futuristic. They're now. But they're not being exploited yet because they are still incredibly computationally expensive. They are technologically difficult to use, but as they become easier to use, we will see their applications in marketing, and marketers will change in their roles to be less of the doers and more of the conductors of the orchestra. So a marketer would work with a data scientist to train an AI on their specific use cases, and then would be on the other side would be the quality inspector to say like, yeah, okay, yeah, that out of this list of 100,000 tweet chat questions, that one's a little weird, so let's make sure we train it out of asking that particular question. And that's a big career shift for a lot of people, to go from doer to conductor to manager. Something to think about. Something to think about in your own career. Question 5. How can a marketer who wants to become more data savvy start wrapping their head around all of this? Well, becoming data-driven is a mindset. Data is, and the processing of data is fundamentally mathematics. And a lot of people have been deeply disserved by the education system, especially in the United States of America. It's really bad here. Into believing that they're not good at math, that they can't learn something. They had a teacher or teachers growing up were like, oh, you know, you're bad at math, you're stupid at math, or whatever. Or even worse, cultural biases that confine people, imprison them in their own minds. You know, you're African American, you can't do math, or you're a woman, you can't do math. You know, those are completely wrong. Those are prison sentences for people's minds. And so the biggest thing that a marketer has to do is free themselves from that mental prison. When you think about mathematics, it's a language, right? If you can speak English, you can also speak math. In fact, math is easier because there are far fewer exceptions than a human language. So learning that and reteaching and relearning, going back in time and undoing the damage that the education system did to you, is probably where you would have to start from a mental perspective, from a mindset and emotional perspective, to realize that all this stuff is accessible, and the heavy lifting, machines do. Right? We have to learn the concepts and understand how the thing works. We don't necessarily have to do the thing. We just have to know how it works so that we can quality check it. Because again, it's that shift in mindset from doer to manager is really important. To become more data savvy, the most important personal trait that you have to have is to be curious, to want to know the answer, to want to solve that mystery. There's something wrong in your analytics. And it's that mindset change from, all right, just put it in PowerPoint, we got other things to do too. Well, why did that happen? Like, what happened there? Why is there an anomaly? Why was our website traffic higher yesterday for no discernible reason? Why did this ad not perform? That curiosity is what will guide you into being more successful and getting started with data. If you are curious and you are persistent, you are driven, you are motivated by that curiosity, as sort of an innate personality trait, and you can train it, you can train yourself to do that, then sky's the limit for what you can do. Can you tell us about one brand who's really rocking data-driven marketing, or example of a great tactic, campaign, etc.? A brand that really rocks it, but with serious problems, is Facebook. Facebook is one of the best companies in the world at using data to manipulate its users and to make a whole lot of money. And this raises an interesting question about data-driven marketing, about AI, about data science. One of the features that will set apart the better companies from the worst ones is a strong foundation of ethics, of solving the mystery and being curious and being motivated. That's important. That is vital to who you are and who you could be. But so is knowing the rules, so is knowing the difference between right and wrong. Facebook has always been an ethically challenged company, right? They have put results in front of everything else, and that shows up in the business decisions they make, in how their machine learning models work. One of the best examples of this is that if you look at how the Facebook newsfeed algorithm works, it optimizes for user stickiness, to keep people on Facebook. And we've seen this over the years, right? We've seen Facebook take away marketers' ability to link out to websites because the newsfeed deprioritizes certain links. It emphasizes staying on Facebook by posting your video and content on Facebook rather than somewhere else. Now with Facebook groups trying to keep people on Facebook in private enclaves. And even though they're using what's called multi-objective optimization, their priorities are user stickiness. There is no moral or ethical compass behind that. And machine learning and AI, especially like advanced deep learning models, are 100% like the mythical genie in a bottle. You get what you ask for. And if you don't think real clearly about what you ask for, you get unintended consequences. And that's what has happened with Facebook. They have used data brilliantly to achieve their aim, but in the process, they have enabled political manipulation, they have enabled election fraud, they have caused massive mental health damage, they have optimized algorithms to make us angry and afraid all the time because those emotions are much more sticky than being happy. Like if you're happy, you'll go out and celebrate and do fun things in life. If you're angry, you will want to just vent about it. And of course, where are you going to do that? You're going to do that on Facebook. And so they're rocking it for now until they get regulated out of existence, because that is the inevitable conclusion to a company that's ethically challenged. They can either change, which is going to be tough because the DNA of the company is built on this foundation, or they can end up like an Enron, and something at some point will be so intolerable that people will be like, nope, you're going to jail. And I think that's a realistic possible outcome for Facebook. They have to pay real close attention to where things are going, and you can't add ethics afterwards. So, but yeah, they're rocking the data-driven marketing. What is one book, movie, TED Talk, podcast you would recommend to people looking for inspiration as marketers? Depends on what you define as inspiration. It depends on what motivates you. If you want ideas, then I wouldn't say there is any one thing. If anything, you should be subscribed to and reading and following many things. If you're on the creative side, if you're on the mathematical side and the quantitative side, again, same thing. There are thousands of resources. You should probably pick the top 5 or 10 and start really digging in. But more than anything, you need to find an anchor point. A lot of people are like, I want inspiration, I want this, I want that, and I want magic. Well, magic doesn't exist. But if you want inspiration, you want to start making order out of chaos, you've got to find an anchor point. Find a blog or a podcast. And then once you hear about a specific topic that interests you, dig into that. Don't just subscribe to the channel overall, but dig into that one topic. Like, I really want to learn more about active learning neural networks. I really want to learn more about regression algorithms. I want to really learn more about Google Analytics goal conversions and how Google computes them. And that will take you down a rabbit hole of investigation, of study, of analysis. There's a technique from the martial arts from what I learned from one of my teachers who showed us this technique years and years ago. He's like, we're going to take a basic tool and force you to use it unconventionally. So you're only allowed to use this certain type of strike, and you can't use anything else. You can only use your footwork and hitting somebody with your thumb. You can't use anything else. All the other techniques all the other cool stuff cool, put that aside. You can only hit somebody with your thumb. And you get real clever real fast. Like, how do I adapt my technique and my knowledge in this unusual situation? The same thing is true in marketing. How do you take your skill with one tool? Maybe it's Audacity, the audio editor. Maybe it is Photoshop. Maybe it is a certain type of writing, like a poem. How do I use this in as many different ways as possible so that I truly understand it inside and out? The same as in cooking, right? You have a frying pan. How many possible different ways can you use a frying pan? Yes, some are going to be suboptimal uses, but how do you learn the limits of a technique or a tool? You have to study it. And so I would encourage you to pick a tool or a topic or a thing that you want to study deeply and dig into that, because that will open up inspiration in you. That will open up motivation in you. You can't learn all of data science at once. You can't learn AI all at once. You can't learn Google Analytics all at once. But you can learn a thing and learn it so well that you become competent in it, then masterful at it. And I think that's a great aspiration for a lot of marketers. Self-interested, if you want to check out my book, AI for Marketers, you can go to aiformarketersbook.com and you can tune into the podcasts I do, In-Ear Insights from Trust Insights and Marketing Over Coffee at marketingovercoffee.com. But those are still topical, and I really want you to find one thing and really drill down on it until you have mastered it. And I will tell you, if you want to master something, as much as people have protested or complained or attempted to debunk Eric, what's his last name? I can't remember his last name. It's a really long Swedish name, but Malcolm Gladwell highlighted his work in the idea that 10,000 hours of practice. Yes, there are nuances to it, but it's not a bad idea to say, like, yeah, it's going to take me 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years to master a technique. So that would be something I would think about there. What is the best piece of career advice you ever got? That's a tough one, because most of the career advice I've received is wrong. And the reason for it is that career advice is so tricky because you aren't that other person that you're giving advice to. They have their own nuances, their own perspectives, and it's very difficult for somebody to give meaningful advice that's useful and that's tailored to you. That person has to know you real well. Most of the great advice I've gotten in my life has come from people who know me really, really well. My family, my martial arts teachers, people who've spent decades around me and can say, yep, I see exactly what you're about to do wrong. And if you don't want to do that and waste months or years, here's the mistakes I made along the way. You may make those same mistakes. But in terms of overall, there's a very simple phrase that our martial arts tradition headmaster says, which is keep going. And you can interpret that a whole bunch of different ways. But the way I've personalized it for myself, knowing what my own weaknesses are, my own flaws are as a person, is keep going, especially when you don't want to. Especially when it's like, oh, this is boring. This is not fun. This is not exciting. This is not the kind of thing I want to be doing right now. Keep going. Keep going. Get through it. Get past it. Do the thing. Get it off your to-do list or whatever. Keep going. It's so difficult. It is a challenge for me. Now, for somebody else who maybe is stubborn, that could be the worst advice, right? You know, I'm stubborn. I'm resolute. I'm confident. I'm devout. No, stop. Stop doing what you're doing. Don't keep going. Learn when to quit. Like, learn when it's okay to give up. Learn when to throw in the towel, because otherwise you may be wasting enormous amounts of time and energy and life doing something. So the best meta advice is figure out who you are and be real honest about what you're good at, what you're bad at, what your weaknesses are, and then try to find ways to mitigate those weaknesses. Going back to previous questions, one of the things you should be studying, and it's true for all of us, myself included, is you, right? Who are you? What do you want? Why are you here? Where are you going? Those are all really important questions that you need answers to. And the only place those answers come from is inside yourself. So, bonus question on artificial intelligence, sort of what's happening right now. On the front of AI, so there's a really funny joke that it occurs in the AI community. It's like, what's the difference between machine learning and AI? If it's code, it's machine learning. If it's on a PowerPoint, it's AI. Because a lot of businesses and marketers have started AI washing their products, which is like greenwashing or any other trendy thing where people want to put the fancy label on their product as a way to differentiate. One of the things that's really important that you need to be able to do as a marketer is differentiate and know who's got the goods and who doesn't. The Financial Times had a piece about a year ago saying that of companies they investigated who said they have artificial intelligence in their products, only about 1/3 had none, zero, not a single line of code that was AI based. And so there is a fair amount of, I'll just slap the AI label on it and make us look advanced or keep up with our competitors. And so for marketers, one of the things that's important is you need to learn the basics of AI. What kinds of problems does it solve? What are the technologies involved? What are the classes of stuff involved? For example, there's this matrix we can go over and get at the Trust Insights website on the 4 broad problems that AI is good at solving. If you have numerical or non-numerical data, which is called continuous for numerical and categorical for non-numeric, and you have supervised and unsupervised learning, which is if you know what outcome you're trying to find, that's supervised. If you don't know and you're just trying to figure things out, that's unsupervised. When you do a 2x2 matrix of this stuff, supervised continuous is one quadrant, and that is regression analysis, prediction, forecasting. You know what you're looking for, and you need a machine's help doing that deeper analysis or prediction. That's an important type of problem to try and solve. There is unsupervised continuous. When you have a whole bunch of numerical data, like what should I be paying attention to? What things cluster together? Clustering is the name of the technique. For marketers, that's SEO data. Like you have so many different data points. What do you pay attention to? What clusters together? That's really important. On the regression side, that's things like analytics data, like in Google Analytics. What drives conversions? Boy, wouldn't that be useful to know? When are my conversions likely to peak in the next 52 weeks? That would surely be useful to know. So that's an example of prediction. On the categorical, meaning non-numeric data, with supervised categorical are things, this is classification, right? So marketers will see this most with things like sentiment analysis. Is this happy? Is this sad? Is this angry? Really important to know techniques around classification. And then unsupervised categorical, which is non-numeric data, is dimension reduction and association. This is where we see things like topic modeling. Technically, it's mathematical, but conceptually, it's not. How do I understand what's in a block of, say, text, being able to digest that down? That's really important. So marketers need to know those things before they can get to the advanced stuff, right? I started this off by like, where's AI going for marketers? Generation is one, which is a form of regression and prediction along with classification. Creating net new content, words, audio, video, images. Generation is really important. And we're starting to see better and easier interfaces to AI technology. IBM's Auto AI is a fantastic example of this, where you load your data set and it will do a lot of the heavy lifting on the back end. IBM calls it AI for AI. Now, it's still, the tools as they are today still require really good, experienced data scientists to look at it. But as time progresses, you will see those become more and more accessible and easier to use for marketers. Marketers will be able to use that for real. So that's where things are going and what marketers should be studying now to learn how to debunk when a vendor is saying, oh yeah, we have AI in our product tool too. Okay, cool. What kind? So some things to think about on the specifics of AI for marketers.